Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and today we'll be taking a look at the ARESGAME AGV 500 watt power supply, bronze rated with a 5-year warranty. But should you buy one? Let's find out. Okay, so in today's video we'll be taking a look at the ARESGAME AGV 500 watt power supply. This is a multi-voltage power supply from the people at ARESGAME. Personally, I've never used one of these before, and this is my first time dipping my toes into this particular brand, so not entirely sure what to expect. But from the unboxing experience, actually it looks like they've gone out of their way to try and make things as easy as possible, and I've actually included an actual ton of connectors, so this should be fine for most builds. Although, I will say there is a caveat. This is only a bronze rated power supply, it is only 500 watts, and it isn't particularly high up the tier list. Although, having said that, some of the tier lists actually do mark this down purely because of the brand and some of the things they've done previously with other power supplies to try and insinuate a certain rating when potentially they may not have achieved quite that on all of the models. Anyway, that's a video for Steve at Gamers Nexus, which actually I'll try and link below so you can take a look at that particular video. But today we're going to concentrate on this, so this is the 500 watt model. Although technically the 12 volt rail is only 450 watts, so this is a 37.5 amp unit. But I think for most kind of budget builds, potentially APU systems and things with very small graphics cards, this should be absolutely fine. So if you are putting together a budget system, this could tick the boxes you need, especially for the price. This is retailing at the moment on amazon.co.uk for £31.99. Yes, £32 for a power supply with a 5-year warranty. Surely there has to be a catch somewhere. At the moment, I'm not entirely sure what it is, but potentially as we go through the video, you may find out some of those details. So starting off with the packaging, as you can see, this is the retail packaging. It actually comes with a carry handle for some apparent reason. Maybe you want to take it to a LAN party. I'm guessing possibly not. As you can see on the front there, so it's got the specifications. This is a bronze rated power supply, and it appears to be genuine. I have actually printed off the 80 plus report, so yeah, it appears to be doing what it says, at least on the box and from the website. I'll link this as well so you can check it out in more detail. Also, obviously it has got the logo on there saying 80 plus. On the back, we've got some more of the information, again for the rails, etc. I'll give you some close-ups of that, and also the efficiency of the unit. Clearly, if you're living in the UK or using 200 plus volts on your AC system, then you will find that the efficiency is actually better. It does appear, from what I can tell, that they've actually achieved the 80 plus rating on the 110 or 115 volt rating. So clearly, those of us in the UK and other countries will achieve a slightly higher efficiency score. Looking at some of the other details slightly closer, so it does say there, stable power with very low electrical ripple and noise, although I'm not able to test that, so I cannot confirm or deny that. Complete protection, so you've got overpower protection, over voltage protection, under voltage protection, SCP, and also it says it provides up to 500 watts at 40 degrees Celsius. An ultra quiet 120mm fan, I will dispute that later, and it has active power factor correction, which really you shouldn't be buying a power supply in 2023 or onward that doesn't have active power factor correction. And also at the bottom there it says it comes with a 5-year warranty, which is excellent. I don't think I've seen a power supply of this kind of rating at this sort of price point with a 5-year warranty. So inside the unit, the actual power supply comes with a nice bubble wrap on there to protect it during shipping. There's also a user manual and also an installation guide telling you about all the connections, but we'll go through that shortly. There is a 3-pin plug with the kettle lead or IEC type connection on there, so it's nice to see that included. A lot of power supplies in the UK don't these days, so that is always nice to see. Also comes with a Velcro strap as well for a little bit of cable management, but if that isn't enough, it does also come with a rather tight amount of cable ties, only 4, and there's 4 screws to attach it to your computer. Looking at the power supply itself, it's actually quite a nice looking unit. Seems to do pretty much everything you'd want from a power supply these days. It is relatively modest in terms of branding. It's blacked out, black cables, etc. And it looks pretty decent. You have got a label on the outside with the branding, and clearly one on the other side, depending if you're mounting face up or face down. On the top section, you've got the badge there telling you 80 plus and also the specifications again, so you can take a look at that. On the back of the unit there is a on-off power switch, kettle lead port, and also it does state on there about multi-voltage. Nice hexagonal mesh there to let the air out, and on the bottom again, you've got a kind of mesh or slotted section there to let air pass through. Overall, it actually feels quite heavy as well. I was a little bit surprised. I was expecting it to be extremely lightweight, judging by the price and also the wattage capacity of it, but actually it does feel like a relatively weighty unit, which normally is a sign of good things, but we'll find out as we take a look inside later. Taking a look at the cables, so there is obviously a 24-pin power connector, and also they do include a tester, which is quite handy to have, so you can just plug this in. First of all, plug it into the mains, make sure it doesn't eject any magic smoke or anything like that, and I'm pleased to say this particular unit hasn't done, so nice to have a little tester in there. If you're doing water cooling, that sort of thing, you're trying to prime pumps, these are actually really handy to have, or just for setting up case fans, that sort of thing. So the main ATX 24-pin power connector, nicely braided as well, blacked out, and also is 500mm in length for those wondering. Next up is going to be the 4/8-pin CPU EPS connector. Now actually, considering how low down the range this is in terms of wattage, I was very surprised to see that there's actually a piggyback on there. So you can have a 8-pin single, or you can have a 4-pin single, or combinations of 4 plus 8, or 2 8s if you wanted to. Additionally, I would say 500 watts for a power supply. If you're trying to get the most out of your CPU and it does require dual 8-pin connectors, then potentially you're probably looking at the wrong power supply, but it's nice to see it included anyway. When it comes to length, this one's a little bit longer, so 600mm to the first connection, and then an additional 100mm between the two. Next up is going to be your PCI Express connections, so these are 6+2s, molded plugs, so you can slide those off if you only need a 6-pin. Again, we do have the kind of piggyback connection here, so when it comes to length, we're looking at slightly shorter, 480mm for the length to the first plug, and then an additional 150 to the secondary plug. Next up is going to be our SATA cable, so this has 3 SATA connections on there, and this one you're looking at 400mm to the first plug, and then an additional 150 to each additional plug, being 3 in total. And last but not least is another connection for SATA, so we've got a single SATA on this one, and also you have a pair of 4-pin Molex connections, and also there is a floppy drive style connector on the end should you need it for extra USB hubs, that sort of thing, or potentially like thermal take controllers, etc. They still use them, and they're actually in use by quite a few things across the range. But I would say the actual cabling itself doesn't feel particularly high quality. It's relatively flimsy and not a particularly thick gauge, but again, this is only rated at a 500 watt power supply, so you shouldn't really expect too much. And again, for most APU or very modest systems with very small GPUs, I think this is going to be absolutely fine. Talking of the 5-year warranty, I've actually gone ahead and invalidated that by taking this apart. There is a little sticker there, it says void if removed, so I've taken the screws out and had a quick look inside. So let's give you some close-ups of what is inside. The kind of main thing, the primary cap, is going to be a cap XCon or cap XON, and that is rated to 105C. This isn't a particularly good cap. It is in the tier rankings in tier 3, so not ideal, but certainly it's not in tier 4, so things could be worse. Again, they have given a 5-year warranty, so potentially if it does fail, then it is going to get replaced, although potentially you don't want it taken out any of your additional components, but with things like over voltage protection and all that kind of stuff, you should be pretty safe. Something that I'm not entirely keen on is the actual fan in here, and if you take a look at it, it's a relatively cheap affair. And unusually, they've actually put a molded fan in there. So there's actually a kind of shield on there to deflect the air. Generally, in most power supplies, you actually get a very thin piece of plastic, which is generally removable, which actually kind of deflects the air where it needs to go. In this particular model, it is a molded one. And actually, let's give you a listen to the fan now. Personally, I think they've over-egged their ultra quiet moniker that they've put on it. To me, it seems a little bit on the loud side. So let's plug this in and we'll take a listen. So I'm not too sure if you can pick that up on the on my microphone. It is very close. There is definitely a noise there to the fan. Whether or not it's going to be too disturbing for a lot of people, that is going to be down to the individual. For me personally, I think potentially it might be a little bit on the loud side. I am going to be doing a low budget build with this particular unit. So when we come to do that in our live stream, then you can take a listen and see what it's like and see if it's actually much louder than the other things. And obviously, because this isn't in a case at all at the moment, there's no kind of dampening or anything, but certainly it does seem a little bit louder than what I would have liked. Something else which is a little bit unusual is the fact that if you turn the power switch off, which I'll do now, the fan just keeps on going. at least for a little while. And there we go. It does finally turn off. I was a little bit concerned that the switch was a little bit of a poor quality one and didn't work at all, but I was pleased to see that the fan did actually stop. So I'm guessing that is going to be discharging the capacitors as it does so. Let me know what you think in the comments section. So anyway, there we go. There is the ARESGAME AGV 500 watt power supply with its bronze rating and its 5-year warranty for only £32 currently here in the UK, which I think is actually fantastic value for money. I'm not really that bothered about using a relatively inexpensive power supply, especially for modest builds. If you're building a PC and it's going to be somewhere around the £200, £300 mark, then I think this is going to be absolutely fine. And realistically, if you look on the market, the only other sort of similar things are going to be the EVGA BT450, things like the Cylon integrators, those kinds of things, and also some of the things such as the CWTs or CIT power supplies that are on the market. But actually, I don't think any of them come with a 5-year warranty, so that is pretty impressive. And in fact, it actually beats EVGA's BT450 with its 2-year warranty. So potentially this might be just the thing you need for your budget build. Let me know what you think about this one in the comments section. But I think this is going to wrap things up. I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.